All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into a really magical moment from a book so many of us love. We're talking about that first encounter right at the beginning of chapter 2 in The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
So I want you to just picture this for a second. Our narrator, he's a pilot, and he is in some serious trouble. I mean, life or death kind of trouble. He's totally alone, his plane is busted, and his water is running out. Fast. In the Sahara Desert, yeah, it's not exactly the most forgiving place to be stranded.
And then, out of nowhere, he hears this, a request that's quiet, serious, and just completely impossible. And it's coming from this little person who just shouldn't be there. You know, this one moment, it basically sets up the entire story. So let's unpack how we even got to this point.
Right, so how did our narrator, this super practical guy, end up in the middle of the desert taking drawing requests from a little kid?
Well, his plane's engine just died on him. And I mean, he was completely isolated, 1,000 miles from anywhere. His only thought was, I have to fix this plane before I run out of water. His mind was 100% on survival.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. You gotta understand our narrator's backstory with drawing. When he was a kid, he drew this picture. To him, it was crystal clear, a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. But every single grown-up he showed it to, they just saw a hat. So he got discouraged, gave up on art, and decided to become a pilot instead. And that backstory? It is absolutely crucial, because the very next morning, right when he's about to start working on those life-saving repairs, his whole practical grown-up world gets flipped completely upside down. He opens his eyes, and he's not looking at an empty desert. No, he sees this amazing little kid just standing there, cool as a cucumber, like, oh yeah, a plane crashed in the desert. That happens every day. And then he just says it again. I mean, the whole thing is just so absurd, right? The pilot, even though he's in this terrible situation and he knows he's not a great artist, he just agrees to try. There's just something about this serious little person he can't say no to. And this is where we really start to see that huge gap between the world of grown-ups and the world of the little prince. It becomes so clear. The narrator, he tries to do what the boy asks, but his grown-up brain just keeps getting in the way. So for his first try, what does he do? He goes back to what he knows. He draws his old classic, picture number 1, the snake with the elephant inside. It's kind of a test, you know? He's wondering, is this kid just gonna be like all the other grown-ups and see a hat? But nope. The little prince sees it for exactly what it is. He totally passes the test, with flying colors. He sees right through it, beyond the surface. But it's not what he wants. He's very clear. I need a sheep. At home, everything is very small. All right, so the narrator tries to draw a real sheep, but his attempts get shot down right away. The first one, nope, looks sick. So he tries again. This one, too old. See, the prince is being super specific here. This isn't just about getting a picture of a sheep. He wants a companion, right? A friend who's going to live for a long time. The drawing itself has to hold all of that potential. So the narrator gives it another shot, but this time he draws one with horns. Wrong again. That's a ram, the little prince says. It's just not the sheep he's picturing in his head. Okay, so at this point, our narrator is pretty much out of patience. I mean, he's a pilot with a broken-down plane, not an artist on commission. He's got to get back to work. But then, right out of that frustration, he gets an idea, and it changes everything. He just gives up. He completely abandons the idea of drawing an actual, literal sheep. He's done trying to capture reality with his pencil. Instead, he just scribbles this, a simple box, a crate with a few air holes. And he just hands it over. The sheep you want is in this box, he says. He's basically saying, here you go, you imagine it. He's passing the creative part over to the little prince. And this is what it's all about. The little prince looks so closely at this simple little drawing of a box, and something magical happens. He doesn't see a failed drawing. He sees pure possibility. He sees it perfectly. The exact sheep he wanted is right there. He even adds his own details, saying, look, she's sleeping. That so-called failed drawing by the narrator, it turned out to be the most perfect drawing of all. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that by giving up on drawing what a sheep looks like, and instead drawing a place for a sheep to be, the narrator finally made a connection. He stopped thinking like a grown-up, and he started speaking the language of imagination.
And this whole first meeting just leaves us with this beautiful, kind of lingering idea. The narrator and the prince, they finally understood each other, not because of a perfect picture of reality, but because of an invitation to imagine it. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? When is what we imagine more real, more important than what we can actually see?